we're reading a book of stories which has a spiritual import. These stories are couched in the Hindu yogic tradition. And in the yogic tradition, and in the other spiritual traditions of India, and in fact perhaps all spiritual traditions, we come across beings, or the possibility of what we might call supernormal powers. And these supernormal powers, or Siddhis, sometimes are called Siddhis, are catalogued at length in some of the yogic texts. It's difficult to know what to say about them. I mean, on the one hand, why shouldn't these things be possible? Things like flying through the air, or creating or materializing thought forms, and or creating extra bodies. If this reality is a dream, as the Yoga Vasistha states, and it's possible to wake from that dream, then can we not enter into some parallel with the phenomenon of lucid dreaming? In a lucid dream, you know you're dreaming, but you're still within the dream world, and you can affect it somehow. You could fly, for example. And this was the premise of the Matrix films as well, wasn't it? The Matrix put forward the notion that this reality that we normally call objective physical reality was a construction, and if you're awake to that fact, then you're no longer restricted by the conventional beliefs of that reality. And so you can have Keanu Reeves flying through the air, or Neo, as we should call him. So I don't want to rule out that possibility. But on the other hand, if it is possible, where are these people? Where are these yogis and sages flying through the air? I've actually got a scientific training, and I would like to see some of these people perform their feats. And we need to be very careful about this. I mean, there's the famous or infamous holy man Satya Sai Baba, who's famous for his miracles. But I think the chances are, although he's quite an unusual individual, incredibly charismatic, and perhaps he has his own kind of magic, but he is well established that he's quite fraudulent. Although apologies to any devotees of Sai Baba, but it's been captured on film. And if you want to believe in that, that's up to you. But it's certainly quite contentious. Now, so again, though, we've got in the yogic texts that these siddhis, these supernormal powers, are possible. So we've got to understand, though, the nature of the mind that we're talking about. We assume a certain relationship with reality. We assume that there is me here, and there's an objective, concrete reality outside of me. And this is a fairly recent phenomenon. It wasn't something that we can assume our ancestors shared. It wasn't an idea our ancestors shared. Our ancestors had quite an intimate relationship with what we might call the gods. In fact, as a psychologist, I think Jaynes came up with this theory of the bicameral mind, and it was positing that there was our ancestors did not have self-awareness, they did not have awareness of themselves as individuals, and that they had direct access to the voice of the gods, which was part of their mind. And there's a whole notion. There's the whole notion also of what we might call the imaginal faculty, or the unconscious. Saint Augustine, in one of his confessions, he wrote a book of confessions, the Confessions of Saint Augustine. I think book 10 is devoted to memory. And within the phenomenon of memory, he includes everything that we might call the unconscious. And he believes that by probing that, he can find God. And in a way, he's probing his own nature. He's probing the nature of self. And he had very vivid, a very vivid relationship to his own unconscious, to what we call memory. And the ancient mind was very good at visualizing, and it's not an accident that a lot of so-called meditation techniques are actually visualization practices. The God is visualized in minute detail, to the point that it becomes real. It becomes real to the meditator, to the person doing the visualization. So the ancient mind was quite different to our own mind, and I think it's worth bearing that in mind